Hi, it's Kai. Number 10. Real-life Tarzan. It's usually never a good idea to venture into the jungle. There are all kinds of dangers. Pretty much everything is trying to kill you. So unless you're staying at a treehouse resort or you're on a safari with a qualified guide, you don't really have a valid reason for being there, and you probably want to avoid being there. And if you do decide to venture in, you probably won't come back out. But for one man and his son, there was a very valid reason for going into the jungle. Ho Van Thon took his youngest son into the jungle in order to escape a U.S. air raid that had killed his wife and his two older sons. Guess how long he hid in the jungle? Over 40 years. They lived in complete isolation for 4 decades. That's nuts. The two were discovered living in a treehouse near a stream about 25 miles from a village. And they were doing just fine. They had crafted their own tools like axes, knives, and arrows, and even had their own sugarcane plantation going on. When they were found, Ho Van Thon was an old man. He could barely walk and had forgotten most of his language as well. His son was in peak physical condition, but he too didn't know the language. They were both taken to the hospital and checked out. Surprisingly, neither of them had any diseases after living in the jungle for so long. The doctors had to tie Ho Van to the bed, though, because he kept trying to escape and go back to the jungle. I think we should probably let the old man do what he wants. You can take the man out of the jungle, but you can't take the jungle out of the man. Number 9. World War II plane wreck. At the bottom of the sea, near the state of Koror in the Republic of Palau, there's a remarkably intact Japanese Aichi E-13A World War II-era aircraft. The plane had been shot down by the U.S. Army in 1944. Images of the plane lying peacefully in its watery grave circulated on social media several years ago, sparking discussions about how it's hard to believe that a place as serene as Palau was once a deadly war zone. The plane was a reconnaissance aircraft that was used from 1941 to 1945. It was designed to carry 3 crew members and can hold up to 550 pounds of bombs. Over 1,400 of the seaplanes were manufactured during the war, but there aren't any surviving airworthy examples. Most of them were shot down and are now rusting away in Davy Jones' locker. The ghostly sunken wreck has been reclaimed by nature and is now home to moss, coral, and other sea life. It's a pretty popular tourist site now and can be reached with proper scuba diving equipment. Would you like to check it out? Number 8. Ancient UFO. Alright, so most of the stuff on this list is 100% real, and there's proof of its existence. This next entry, though, is a little more speculatory than the rest. That being said, aren't all UFO sightings a little speculatory? Yes, that's right. I said UFO sighting. Aliens in the jungle. Wait, what? In 2016, a strange object was caught on satellite images hidden within the Amazon canopy in the Brazilian state of Rondônia, leaving some viewers to suggest its origins and explanation could be more extraterrestrial in nature. A member of the UFO Investigators Secure Team 10 told The Mirror that the cigar-shaped line of shiny orbs were seen by a viewer searching through Google Maps. He added that the Amazon rainforest is no stranger to reported UFO sightings. There's nothing around the area for miles, so it definitely doesn't seem man-made. But is it really an alien spaceship? Number 7. Humpback Whale. In early 2019, local fishermen on the Brazilian island of Marajo, near the mouth of the Amazon River, were baffled to discover a 10-ton, 26-foot-long baby humpback whale carcass in the middle of the jungle. According to the nonprofit research group Bicho d'Água, the poor thing probably wandered away from its family and got lost at sea, and died of starvation or some other unknown cause. But how the heck did it end up in the middle of a jungle? Oceanographer Maura Souza explained that during that time of year, the tide rises twice daily by about 13 feet and floods the mangrove forest. This would have washed the whale's body ashore at Arana Beach and then carried it inland about 50 feet. Souza said that the whale probably died 4 to 5 days before being swept into its final resting place. She added that while humpback whales are common in the South Atlantic, this one appeared at an unusual time of year, and it may have even come all the way from the North Atlantic, which would have been quite the journey for the baby whale. At the time the discovery was announced, researchers said that they hoped a DNA test and a necropsy would provide more insight into where it came from and how it died. Number 6. The Lost White City. For centuries, indigenous locals who live in the Mosquito Rainforest in Honduras spoke of a legendary white city, also called the City of the Monkey God, but there was no physical evidence of such a place until 2012, when an aerial survey detected its lost ruins. In 2015, archaeologists physically explored the ancient city for the first time. During their visit, they mapped the site's incredible plazas, unearthed mounds and pyramids, and other intricate structures. The team also found a collection of stone sculptures that hadn't been touched since the settlement was abandoned over 1,000 years ago, and several other artifacts that they believe date back between 1000 and 1400 AD. The stone sculptures may have been an offering of some sort, according to Mesoamerican archaeologist Christopher Fisher, who told National Geographic that it's incredibly rare to find artifacts like these in such an undisturbed, pristine state. One artifact resembles a strange hybrid animal that could probably be best described as a were-jaguar, in Fisher's words. The team documented their findings, but left the site unexcavated and are not disclosing its exact location in order to protect it from looters, which is probably a good idea. The mysterious culture that inhabited the White City vanished unexplainably. Little is known about this society, including what they called themselves. The region they used to live in is one of the least scientifically explored places on the planet. The discoveries made in recent years, along with further exploration, will hopefully get researchers one step closer to uncovering the secrets of the Eden-like paradise that is so frequently mentioned in local legends. What other cool things do you think could be found in the ancient Lost White City? Let me know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 5. A hidden rainforest. What's left to explore in the world? It seems unlikely that humans find anything untouched to study, or a place that hasn't been bulldozed and burnt and exploited within an inch of its life for precious minerals or virgin timber. But that's exactly what happened in 2017. Scientists have discovered a virtually untouched rainforest on Mount Lico, an isolated 410-foot-high cratered mountain in northern Mozambique. Welsh researcher Dr. Julian Bayliss led a 28-person team, including scientists specially selected for their different talents, as well as logistics experts, rock climbers, and filmmakers to the top of the mountain. It's difficult enough to reach the base of the mountain. The whole area is difficult terrain, river crossings, and thick vegetation. There's no paved roads or paths, and definitely no hotels. Accessing the rainforest seemed impossible to Bayliss and his team. But they managed. They discovered all kinds of new species of flora and fauna. Locals later told the team that the only other humans who had ventured to the top of Mount Lico were some Germans during World War I. It's rumored that the men died there, and if that's the case, they have likely decomposed past the point of being recognized. There are stories about the Abattoir, a tribe of small-statured people who supposedly lived there once, but these tales seem to be myths, as no proof of this was ever found. By studying the plant and animal life they observed at the undisturbed site, the researchers can learn more about how climate change and human activity have affected other parts of the planet that were once pristine. They can also learn how to best preserve the few places on Earth that are left that humanity hasn't damaged. Number 4. An airplane hotel. Deep in Costa Rica's Manuel Antonio National Park, there's a Boeing 727. It looks like it straight up crashed into the jungle and was just left there to be reclaimed by nature. But the mysterious aircraft is in too good of a condition for it to be a wreck. Built in 1965, the plane flew for South Africa Air and Colombia-based Avankia Airlines before being salvaged and turned into a cool hotel. Now it's a home away from home for adventurous travelers who want something other than the typical vacation experience. Although it's a vintage hotel in one sense, the plane's interior is quite modern. It's fully air-conditioned, with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchenette and dining area, a spiral staircase leading to the entrance, has a wooden deck where the right wing once was, and is surrounded by beautiful gardens. Getting the 727 into the jungle was not an easy task. It was transported in 5 truckloads, and once the frame reached its destination, it was reassembled atop a 50-foot pedestal where it sits high today for guests to enjoy the ocean and jungle views. Visitors have even spotted sloths, toucans, monkeys, and other animals from the terrace. Number 3. A missing soldier. Here is yet another story of a guy living in the jungle, but this one is a little different than the Tarzan man. World War II ended in 1945 when Japan surrendered to the Allied forces. But one Japanese intelligence soldier named Hiro Onoda simply refused to believe that the conflict was over. Originally hailing from Wakayama Prefecture, Onoda spent the next 30 years in the jungle on the Philippine island of Lubang, relying on his guerrilla warfare skills to stay hidden and avoid capture. He was originally joined by 3 comrades, one of whom left the jungle and returned to Japan in 1950. One of Onoda's 2 remaining companions died that same year, and the other survived until 1972. Onoda was the last Japanese soldier to come out of hiding and surrender in 1974, when his brother and former commanding officer traveled to the jungle and coaxed him out of there. Finally, after numerous failed attempts by government officials, someone had convinced the dedicated soldier that the war had ended. Still wearing his Imperial Army uniform, cap, and sword, which were in remarkably good condition for having been in the jungle for 3 decades, Onoda formally surrendered to the Philippine president. He pardoned Onoda for killing as many as 30 people he mistakenly took for enemy soldiers throughout his years spent in hiding. In an interview, Onoda explained that he believed Tokyo's pro-US government was scheming against him in their previous attempts to persuade him off the island. He moved to Brazil and became a farmer for about 10 years before moving back to Japan, where he created nature camps for children. Onoda passed away in 2014 at the age of 91. What do you think of this story? Is this guy crazy or committed? Or crazy committed? Yeah, I'm going to go with that one. Number 2, the world's oldest ecosystem. Located on the northeast coast of Queensland, Australia, the Daintree Rainforest is part of the wet tropics of Queensland Rainforest. At an estimated 180 million years old, it's the world's oldest rainforest and is tens of millions of years older than the Amazon rainforest. The Daintree Rainforest formed when Australia was much more humid than it is now, and once extended into areas that are now infamously dry, such as the Uluru region. As Australia became more arid, the rainforest shrunk to its current size and location. Tens of thousands of bird and other wildlife species lived here, including 30% of Australia's frog, reptile, and marsupial species, 65% of its bat and butterflies, and over 12,000 different types of insects, according to the Daintree Discovery Center. Many of the animals here are largely unchanged from their ancestors, retaining primitive traits. In addition to being a natural wonder, the Daintree Rainforest is a special cultural and spiritual site for the Kuku-Yalanji people who have lived in the area for thousands of years and relied on the plants and animals for food. Since then, the region has attracted curious tourists and scientists. One of the most noteworthy discoveries made in the Daintree Rainforest is the 120-million-year-old idiot fruit. It's one of the world's rarest and most primitive lineages of flowering plants. Modern efforts are focused on expanding scientific research and conserving this delicate ecosystem for future generations to enjoy. Number 1, World War II Hideout. In 2015, archaeologists from the University of Buenos Aires announced the discovery of what they believed to be a German World War II-era hideout nestled in the thick vegetation of one of Argentina's national parks. Located near the Paraguay border, the site has long been associated with legends of secretive German occupation. Evidence of this was finally unearthed thanks to the archaeological team who found fragments of a German-made plate at the site, along with 5 German coins minted between 1938 and 1941. The alleged bunker consists of a normal house big enough to accommodate 6 to 8 families and is surrounded by a 10-foot thick wall and a hilltop tower. It's in an extremely remote and private location that would have been especially difficult to access and even harder to survive in. Argentina welcomed Germans from the end of World War II until 1955. Their post-war presence in the country numbered at least 5,000, according to records uncovered in 2012 in Chile and Brazil. But most of them lived in cities and on ranches, not in secret bunkers, suggesting that the covert refuge was there long before Germans began migrating to South America. Skeptics deny this possibility, instead arguing that the structure may be a failed homestead or a refuge that was built and used by non-Germans, but that it was advertised as a German hideout to attract tourists. Thanks for watching. What do you think about these jungle discoveries? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye!